Old locomotives sporting new paint schemes have always been a cause for strong emotions, and also Germany had their fair share of them over the years. But one of them is still just as divisive half a century later. Germany's blue crocodiles. Well, singular, as there was only ever just one. Kind of. We'll come back to that. In 1974, introduced the Deutsche Bundesbahn of West Germany a few new paint schemes to finally replace the traditional, but old-fashioned and dark paint schemes for good. In regard to locomotives, only the few remaining and soon-to-be-withdrawn steam locomotives were exempt, and 3 different paint schemes were introduced: ivory for the upper part of the body and purple-red for the lower part and skirts for high-speed locomotives, directly derived from the Trans-Europe Express paint scheme. Ivory and ocean blue for all other car body designs, and an ocean blue body with ivory ends for all hooded locomotives, which were primarily shunters. While the new colors were supposed to give the railway a young and modern appearance, were many railway enthusiasts back then less enthusiastic about them. But as time went on, the new colors were more and more accepted and are nowadays looked back at with the usual nostalgia, at least when applied to what were back then new builds. But the few old builds, locomotives of pre-war design, that ever received them, are to this day less fortunate and just as divisive as they were back then. It seems you can only either love or hate them. One of them is Locomotive 194-178, one of the German crocodiles, originally classified as E94. She received the new colors as the first of her class in 1976. Due to the hoods was the body, including the fish belly truss, painted in ocean blue with ivory stripes and front ends. The roof was painted umbra grey and the bogies brown grey. At least in theory, as contemporary photos seem to suggest, the bogies might actually have been painted black. While some people seem to believe the Bundesbahn ultimately decided against this allegedly unsuccessful paint application, did they actually decide against further major overhauls for this aging class? The question about the new paint scheme was therefore already answered, and 194-178 remained the only one of her kind. Some might say a modern paint scheme shouldn't be applied to a pre-war design to begin with, but other paint schemes the class wore in their later years were generally well received, including another blue one. The biggest issue might be the adoption of a paint scheme primarily intended for shunting locomotives, which resulted into the bright front ends, visible from miles away, doing exactly what they were intended to do. Or maybe the actual issue is just that German rail fans never had the chance to get used to a livery like that on a mainline locomotive. I can already hear the British part of my audience typing comments about yellow warning panels. British Railways didn't ask if rail fans liked them or not, they just deemed them a safety necessity for all of modern traction. And today, a British locomotive without them seems almost a bit incomplete. But coming back to the blue Mauritius, how she's often called, maybe due to her distinctiveness, or due to her paint scheme not being that bad after all, has she today more fans than ever. While the original locomotive did not survive, she was scrapped in 1988, was another E94, number 580, in 2010 repainted in ocean blue and since then masquerades as her sister. For a few years even in revenue-earning service by the private operator Rail4U. Despite the risk of turning the comment section now into a war ground, what do you think about this livery? Just as special, but certainly less divisive, are my channel members, including Contrian, Dave Heise, Flipschwip, Kay Frankly, Lucas Ilskens, Martin Vigican, Steamy Player, and the soulless Redbeard. Thank you for making this channel possible. And if you're now curious in how Germany's steam locomotives got their iconic paint scheme, here's your answer. See you there!